Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated economist here. I'd like to thank everybody who's been subscribing to my channel and liking the videos. The comments have been wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate everything. I'd like to talk a little bit about student loans today. But before I get started on student loans, Chris Martenson, go and Google his name or YouTube his name. Chris Martenson. He does the crash course, right, in economics, and he talks about exponential numbers, and he just does a wonderful job of kind of relating of how things are doubling, or every time something doubles, the percentages and stuff that goes into it. It's just really wonderful, and he does it in a very fun and interesting way. So I very much encourage you go and check out Chris Martenson. But the reason why I bring him up is because he has a little scenario that just plays really well. It kind of sums everything up. And this is kind of how it goes. You're in this baseball stadium, and you're sitting up in the very top bleacher. You're like 300 feet in the air, and you're looking way down on this little tiny pitcher's mound, right? And on that pitcher's mound, there's a little tiny drop of water that's doubling itself every minute, right? And so you watch this thing for a few hours as it goes from, a little tiny drop of water to a little bit bigger, and it gets to the size of a pool, and then pretty soon a 5-gallon bucket's worth of water, right? And you keep watching this thing, and it keeps growing and growing, right? And it's gotten to about 6 inches deep. Now, you've been watching this thing all afternoon, all morning into the afternoon, and it's gotten to about 6 inches. You could easily run through this water or whatever. It's not that deep. It's, no fear of drowning yet. But the question is how much time do you have to get out of the stadium, and at what point should you have panicked? Okay? And this is what it comes down to. You have about 10 minutes to get out of the stadium. That water's going to double itself every minute. 6 inches, a foot, 2 feet, 4 feet, 8 feet, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. You're done, right? And it takes about 10 minutes to do that. So you got to go back and you got to think, man, at what point should I have panicked and tried to get out of the stadium? Because if everybody else is in the stadium too, and they're all going to try and get out at the same time, you're not going to do it, right? So at what point should you have panicked? And now I want to show you a chart here. Now, I graduated in 1995, and I remember colleges was something half of us were going to do. The majority of us were going to do it. I would say better than half were going to try and go to college, or at least take some college courses. Okay? And a few of us were just going to go right into the workforce and just start working. The majority of the class had no ambition to go and take out a huge amount of debt to try and take college courses, right? That concept wasn't even there, and nobody really thought that way at all, okay? And then in 2007, right, we had this huge, go back to school, go get education, and the federal government stepped in and said, hey, we're going to help you guys go back to school and get an education so you can get a better job, okay? And kind of what I saw happen over the last 10 years is a lot of people went to school, but they're really not doing anything outside of what I would have done or what they would have done if they just graduated high school and went to work, right? I mean, they just have kind of regular jobs, And what's even kind of worse is that they're a little bit behind because they don't have any experience. They've all been in school most of the time, right? So it's not worse. It's just they're in a different spot. But now they have this debt that kind of goes with it. All right. So I kind of this question, what's going on with these student loans, right? Well, then I kind of went in and I started Googling, I was just student loans, what's going on, and it's like crickets out there, right? There's nobody talking about these student loans. I can't really find any information on it. But what I did find was quite alarming, actually, is alarming. What I found, because I guess because I was so disconnected from not having a student loan or not having kids who were going into college or anything, I guess I just was disconnected. I just wasn't paying attention to it. But I found something that was just it just blew me away when I started looking at this. I'm like, wow, why isn't this a bigger deal? Why aren't more people talking about this? And this is what I found, is that from 1995 to about 2007, student loan debt increased from I don't know what the original number was in 2007, but I'm going to show you the chart here, right? And I'm going to cover up the majority of it because I just want to show you way back when it was, right? You see that? And I'm guessing it was somewhere around, I don't know, what, $50 billion maybe? I don't even know. It doesn't really give me the number inside of here, so I don't know what it was in 1995. But I can tell you that it just slowly increased all the way until 2007. So right about there. And I want to cover this up because I want to show you something that's really interesting. So you can see right there was what? In 2007, there was somewhere around $115 billion outstanding in student loan debt. Okay? Then we had the Great Recession, and the government stepped in. You see that? Okay. When I got to looking into it, student loans make up about $1.5 trillion right now. That's about the tenth of the size of the mortgage market out there. 1/10 the size. For every $10 that's in the mortgage market, there's $1 in student loans. Okay? Let that sink in for just a second. Okay. The government owns 80% of the student loans out there. Okay, so that makes about $1.2 trillion the government has. Okay, let's let that sink in for just a second. Their assets, the federal government's assets, so like if they had a big pile of gold and bonds and these student loans, right, and they claimed this big pile was their assets, 44% of those assets are the student loans. 44%. Letting it sink in for a second. Now, 10 years ago, there was less than $200 billion in student loans. So the 44% of those assets that comprise the federal government has occurred in the last 10 years. And they took these kids and they locked them in permanently. You have no other choice but to pay. And if you don't, we'll confiscate it from you every time you get a job. We'll take it right out of your taxes. Let's let that sink in for a second. Now, I heard somebody say on TV, if we let all the student loans go, it would be a boost to GDP because it would all of a sudden create some disposable income that the kids could go off and spend out there in the economy. Who's on the other side of that? Federal government. Where do you think the federal government put all those student loan asset-backed securities? Who do you think is the major recipient, the end recipient of all those slabs? I have yet to find the info on it because it's really hard, but I'm guessing it's the pensions. The federal government's going to make the kids pay for Grandpa's pension. And if they don't pay, Grandpa doesn't get his pension. I'm almost positive of this, guys. So if you have some information to help me out with this, I would really appreciate it. I have been on it for a week. That scared the hell out of me. You know, that drop of water, you know, it was 6 inches right around there. Okay? That's where I'm guessing the 6-inch mark was. All right. Really appreciate you guys. Love you very much. Talk to you later.